Hey, Tom here, FlipAnythingUSA. Glad you're here this morning. It's Saturday. On my blog, I share about how I made my fortune in real estate. I also take you through a lot of going through all the properties that I have nearby that I take you through, showing you how I maintain them, how I keep them rented, and just in general, how I manage my portfolio. And so today we're going to talk about this week in review, including Graham, Stephan, a little Meet Kevin, and maybe whatever else you guys want to talk about. I had some other real estate issues you probably saw if you watched some of the stuff that happened. But we're going to kind of review the week and go over some of the numbers of Graham Stephan's portfolio. He's a smart guy, he's a nice guy, I think, but got no reason to think otherwise. But his portfolio is very, very weak and very, very underperforming what a real estate portfolio should do. But we'll talk about that in a second. All right, so of course I've got to plug my book. So I've got a book, Wake Up, Smell the Real Estate. It's been a bestseller on Amazon and Kindle. Let me see if I can bring this up again. Okay, there it is somewhere. Yeah. Anyways, here's my book right here. Wake Up and Smell the Real Estate. It's been like I say, number one seller on Amazon and Kindle. Also available in audiobook now. That just came out, and it's actually really doing well. Hey, glad you're here, Will Delta. Thank you. So it was interesting going over Graham Stephan's portfolio. So he, I don't know if you watched it or not, if you're just getting here, would like to go over the numbers. Basically, this video you see behind me is one that, and I'm going to get that going here in a second, is one that he'd had Kevin O'Leary look at his portfolio, and Kevin gave him a 65, 6.5, which is a D, right? If you just go through from 1 to 100, it's a passing grade, barely, in school, or it was when I was a kid, probably not anymore. But what was funny is that, obviously Kevin didn't have time. You could tell he wasn't impressed, but he didn't have to get into it very deep. It's pretty obvious too. So these Monopoly-looking cards behind me represent his properties, and we're going to look at those. So going back into the video, what was really cool was, and to Graham's credit, he shared a lot. He's an open book, and I appreciate that. Let me see if we can go through this here. So he goes through each property here. And then I start going through them and start doing the math on them, right? So in the end, Kevin O'Leary give him a D on it, and there's good reason. It's not, but he started out right, and this is what was kind of interesting, is that when you have a lot of money when you begin, or when you don't have much money and you're on modest means, which I think is most everybody starting out, right? I started with zero. Man, you got to make every penny count, okay? And what you can see, and I see this with him, I see it with Meet Kevin, I see it with others, that the more money they make, the less they can be concerned with the return on their investments. Well, part of it's because, I think Kevin makes almost $1 million now, a month sometimes. Pretty, super impressive. And Graham, too. Graham's no slouch. He's got 2 million followers or more than that now. But this is kind of what happens to the wealthy in general. You get too busy doing what you're good at, that your investments, you have to kind of settle. I think they could do way better. But even on their own, they could do way better. But again, they started out as real estate agents and extrapolated that to be that they're good investors, and they're not good investors, to be quite honest, but they may have started out okay. Graham, actually, I was doing the numbers on his first property. You see this one behind me here, and he actually, hey, David, glad you're here. You can see, look, he bought this property for $59,000. Yeah. So on this first property, I think doing the math on this thing, look at, so $59,500, and he says net, and he kind of goes back and forth. When he starts looking at these cards, he goes net income, and actually I forgot I did the math already, so I can just look at it here. So let's just take a look at this, okay? So your net operating income, if you want to figure out what you made on your purchase, like is when he started right here, right? When he started right here, he did 59,000. You'd take 59,500. Was his purchase price, and he's got a net income of 1,100. So take 1,100 times 12. That's 13,200, and then divide that by the 59.5, and I think he came up with like a 22% return. It's pretty good, but yeah, it was 22%. I can go right just looking at it, 22% return. Well, 22% return net off, his cap rate is fantastic. And then, but by the time you hold something long enough and you don't adjust your rents up, and that's what he didn't do. He didn't adjust his rents up. And so now I think that thing fell to like a 4, let's just take a look, 4.7. Yeah, ultimately, what started out as a 22% return fell to a 4.7, and that's with no vacancy factor. But of course, one of his hedges is he keeps it rented because he keeps his rent low, and I do that too. But I mean, never increase your rent is really silly. It just doesn't make sense. You can increase your rent and still keep it 20% below market, and your tenants are going to be happy getting a good deal, and they're really not going to feel like going anywhere because you're still very, very competitive. So anyways, but let's just want to watch a little piece. It's just easier. I could sit here and do it for you again, but let's just watch a little bit of this. Go right here. See what you do is you take your net operating income. Let me know, you guys, if you can hear me fine. Over your, in this case, let's do it first. We're going to do it over his cost. So NOI over his cost, okay, in this case. The other calculation is doing it over value, okay? So first what we'll do, we've got 1,100, okay? We're going to take that times 12, because that would be the income for a year, which is 13,200. And then we're going to divide it by the 59,500. Let me get my calculator going here. So we're going to take the $13,200. Okay, that's a year of income, and we're going to divide that by 59,500. I'll go ahead and speed this up. Even I'm going a little bit slow on this one, but I was just walking you through it. You can see basically this, just to be super clear, this is $1,100 a month times 12, 13,200 divided by 59,500, and I believe it comes out to be about 22% return. The volume sounds like it's okay, so I'm going to turn up the volume a little bit, and I'll also we'll run this a little faster, because when I get to see the analytics on this, and I see most people actually watched a very large portion of this video, but not everybody watched long enough to get to the math, the most important part. So I'm kind of jumping to the math for those that maybe skipped it or didn't have time to watch it all. But let's speed this up just a little bit. I'll go, let's just go 1.5 times, and we'll keep watching. Okay, now look at that. Look at that number. That's a 22, just barely better than a 22%. When he bought it, he had a 22% cap rate. Okay, that's outstanding. Okay, now he's holding it, right? So this is how it changes. And now we take this figure, because this is what it's worth, and now we're going to put 280, and now we're going to do the same calculation. Now keep an eye on the calculator here. 13,200 divided by $280,000. Now we're down to a 4.7. Okay. Now, I don't even think he has that much coming in, but maybe if it's net income, then that's what he's got after taxes. But you can see what's happened. Since 2012 to 2020, 8 years has passed. When he bought it, it was a fantastic deal. It was worth more than he was paying for it anyways, but he got a 22% cap rate. Now 8 years goes by, and now it's worth $280,000, okay? But he doesn't raise the rents. He's kind of diminishing the value of his asset. He's lowered his return by 5 times. He's getting 5 times less cap rate than he was getting when he started. So this is a big mistake that he's making right here. This is a mistake. He should be adjusting this up. I mean, if he just adjusted this $1,100 up to maybe $2,000 a month, it should be worth $2,000 a month. If it's $280, if it's worth $280,000. I mean, I wouldn't buy it if it didn't bring in at least $2,000 a month rent. Even with interest rates as low as they are, maybe I'm not, maybe I'd accept $1,700. But again, you can see how this is such a great deal in the beginning, but after he's held it so long, now he's made it, again, not such an appealing asset. And that's the other thing. You got to do the math. At some point, you got to ask yourself, should I be holding on to stuff that I bought a long time ago? Well, he can sell this, and he'll have $280,000 cash to read. So what I'm getting at on this, if it isn't already obvious, but the bottom line is, and this is why you see me turn certain assets. When an asset becomes not productive, like not as productive as it should be, I get rid of it. And this is a perfect example. And I tell you guys all the time that once the house sits, houses over 300,000 begin to not be as good of a deal as they could be. In other words, once they get to 300,000 and sometimes a little bit more, for me, because I have alternate ways of investing, like commercial, industrial, offices, they're no longer any good. So what I'll do is I ask myself, if I'm not selling the property, I'm buying it. And you really got to, if you're going to be a good investor, you got to ask yourself, if I'm not selling it, I'm buying it. So at this point, I'd be going, well, of course I'd buy it for $59,500 and I'd have in 22% return. I would keep the rents up. I'm probably never going to get away with that forever, when I mark it to value. But, he could probably be getting $1,900 here. In fact, let's just go ahead and do the math on that real quick. Let me pull up the iPad here. That's my mom's dog, by the way. Yeah. So check it out. We'll do the math on this real quick. Put this back over here, right? I just put it right here. Okay. So what I'm saying is potentially I'm going to guess if this house is worth $280,000, he might be able to even get $2,000 a month, but I like to keep rents a little bit low in general. So, I just curious, just thinking it out loud here. Let's just say we got 1,900, right? So let's go 1,900 per month. I got my calculator here. The $1,900 per month times 12 months. Okay, that's $22,800. So we got $22,800. Okay, that's rent for a year. 1,900. Okay, and now we'll do the calculation over the 280,000. So okay, so now this is like an 8. This is an 8 point. Just call it 8.2. It's barely under 8.2. So we'll say that's an 8.2% cap. Okay, so he could have 8% on this. It would still be a good return. Okay, so but instead he's dwarfed his return to 4.7 by not keeping rents up. And even at $1,900 a month, my guess is that would still be a little bit under market, at least 10%. And so he could justify keeping it. He'd keep his tenant happy, and he'd still have a decent return on it. And really, you think about how much money's left on the table. He's left a lot of money on the table too. But again, you don't have to, if you're somebody making $60,000 or $100,000 a year, you're going to want to adjust your rent up. Because you're trying to make your fortune, your side hustle, if you want to call it a side hustle, making money with your money on the side. But he's making, $500,000, he's been making up to probably almost $2 million a year now. So he doesn't. In other words, he doesn't have to apply the same principles of logic that most of us would have to do that if we're building our real estate and our investment portfolio. So, anyways, let's keep watching. Everybody, follow this. Is this good enough? You guys. And that's the reason that comes. Oh yeah, subscribe, please. Be sure to subscribe. Got a new subscribe button here too, by the way. Of course. Nothing really quite works right in my studio. But everybody follow so far? Anyways, it's just real important to pay attention to the math. So let's just keep going here. And let's go. Invest. Okay, he's going to have some taxes, of course, but he could roll this in with a 1031, which is where you basically defer the taxes and you buy another piece of property. But he's not doing that. He's just sitting on here, and now he's basically getting 4.7 on something he used to get a 22% return. I wish he was probably not going to maintain that. It'd be difficult to do. Okay, so like I just showed you, he could have almost double the 4.7, and it'd make more sense holding the property. But again, ultimately, I'm gonna run through this a little faster here. Now let's go to his next property. He had 72,000. Okay. Was what he paid, and he has income 100 times 12. Yeah, and see his second property again. This is when he was a regular working guy making close to more regular wages. 7,800 divided by 72,000. Okay, and look at that. He's got a 15% cap rate. Pretty darn good. So look, 15% cap rate. That's awesome. That's fantastic. It's not as good as the first one, but it's still super great. And you'll see here. Look, I'll just kind of fast forward here. Ultimately, when he marks it to value, 3.8. So again, this is another one that, could probably also be 1,900, and he'd be pushing, 9% here. But he doesn't do that. But again, that's why I say it's nice. It's really cool that he opened up his portfolio. It's not performing very well at all. But you'll see what happens is it's because he's become a little lazy, in my opinion, because he's making money and he doesn't have to concern himself with these assets. But nevertheless, he keeps investing. He keeps going into his portfolio. Now look here. Here's his third property, and you'll see again. Let's do it by this number now. Right? Oh, look at that rent. He breaks them down a little bit differently each time. Well, let's go ahead and do the math anyways. This is back in 2012 again, too. 1,500 times 12. Get our net operating income. So 1,500 times 12 sounds like 18,000. But first we'll do it over his 140, and let's do the math on that. 18,000 divided by 140. So not bad. 12.8. So just about a 13% based on what he paid for it when he paid the 140. Back when he bought this thing originally, he had almost 13. And now take a look at this, because now this is back in 2012. His YouTube channel probably just started not too long after this, but he did okay as a realtor. He made pretty decent money, but then of course the YouTube just blew that money right out of the water, and so that's why he's a YouTuber, and he's a really good one. But you can see what he did here. He bought it right when money mattered, when money was in short supply, when but let's keep watching. 10%. Today, we market to today's values, and things change quite a bit. So now this number is 400,000. Let's do the math. 10,000 divided by 400,000. Now it's worth 400,000. 4.5%. I wouldn't buy it for that, but it's compared to some of his portfolio. And see, 4.5% now. So that's a terrible return. So this is why I say, ultimately, when you get to this stage, you got to ask yourself, hey, if he kept his rents adjusted up, maybe he'd be getting 3,000. It probably wouldn't be a fantastic return, because, like I said, once it goes over 400,000, the returns just don't usually come out that great. I like 10 plus. If I buy something that's a 7% return, there's a reason that it's so low that I'm going to be able to adjust it up like a large vacancy. One time I bought a small strip center that was $2 million, a little more than $2 million, but it still was throwing off about $160,000 a year. It was 7.5% return. That's low, but I bought it because it had a 30% vacancy, and it was throwing off 7.5%. And so by the time I filled it up, then it was like 11 plus, and it's what it wanted. It's cash flow, and it's very, I love the commercial properties. So let's watch a little more. It's not too bad, but again, it's now about a third. Exactly, Natasha. Would you buy like Natasha said, he doesn't have to squeeze every dollar now. Correct. Would you pay $400,000 to get 4.5%? I wouldn't. As you become wealthy, or when you are wealthy, as you can afford to make less on your money that's out there. But it's just fun to play with the numbers. It's important that you do. Here's property 4. He paid $780. He put 60 in it. That's $840. So based on. So now he's making big YouTube money. 2016, 4 years later. Income 2,100. 100 times 12. But now what's funny about Graham Stephan is if you've watched him, and I haven't watched him very much, but I watched enough that he prides himself on like being super frugal. In other words, he won't pay $2 for a cup of coffee at Starbucks, but he'll let $1,000 a month slide on rent on a tenant. So he needs to apply the same logic that he applies to conserving his money He's conserving his money on stuff that really doesn't matter. Coffee, a couple dollars here and there. Listen, you worry about that kind of money when you make a couple dollars an hour, okay? But what he's doing, he's really defeating himself, because if he would just apply the same logic to his real estate portfolio that he does to his eating, and his food expenses, if he just reversed them, he'd be, probably $7,000-8,000 a month ahead. So it's kind of fun to watch and just see to see how he's got, to see what he does. Let's keep watching. So now again, here's property 4. Now he's paying $780,000 for a property, and this looks to be like one of the worst deals he made right here. $780. So look at that. He's he went from getting $780. Look at that, $780. So just do the math on that for a second. Remember, the first property he bought for $59,500. So let's do the math on that real quick. Let's see, where are we at here? Yeah, so if we do the math on that real quick, so just check it out. Great. Trying to erase. There we go. So look at that. He's got in 2016, well, like I say, when money's not so tight, when there's plenty of money flowing, but look at where I'm going to on this. I got to adjust this. What I'm going to right now, talking to you, is look at, he paid $780,000 for a $2,100 a month rent. Okay, so $780,000 for $2,100. Okay, but if we go back to his first investment, right? Look at this first investment. He paid $59,500 for $1,100. Okay, so let's just round it off to $60,000. Okay, for $1,100. Okay, so now the math that's got my attention right now is, it looks to me like, look at this. We've got to divide 60,000 into 780,000, which sounds like about 12 something. 780,000. Right? 780,000 divided by, we'll just do 59,500. Okay, so this is crazy. Now, this is crazy, but this is a great example. So, let me fix this again. Okay, remember, he paid $59,500. Sorry, folks. He paid $59,500. Okay, look over here. $59,500. Okay, to get $1,100 a month. That's when money was tight, when money was precious, when he respected money better, to be quite honest. Now we fast forward to property. Was it 3? Or was it 4? No, it's property 4. Let's jump to property 4. Okay, so now look at property 4. Property 4 is the $780,000. So now check this out. $59,500. Okay, divide to the 780. We'll do the same thing, right? It 780. That's 13 times. He paid 13 times more. Okay, that's this. To get twice as much rent, right? $1,100 goes into $2,100. I mean, actually, for less than double. So he paid $780,000 to double his rent. 13 times more to double his rent. It's crazy. Doesn't make any sense at all. It's a terrible investment. I mean, at that point. Now, he's held it for 4 years, and according to this, let's see, he put out of pocket, I'm not sure exactly. We did $60,000, so he actually paid more than that. Oh my God! So look at this. He paid 14 times more. Because see, here's what I didn't catch: the renovation. $60,000. So really, I mean, it's not hard to figure out. 60,000 plus 780, that's 840. So actually, he paid 14 times more to make twice what he made on his very first investment, of 60,000. So again, he really, anyways. And let's see. Ultimately, let's look at what his rent was. Just using his, let's see what his rent came out to be now. 40,000. See, now look at that. See, now he's got a 3% return based on just what. So he's got see. Look at that. He's got a 3% return based on the 840. 3%. That's a terrible cap rate, folks. Yeah. So look, he got a 3% return because he paid 14 times more. Paid 14 times more. Compare that to his first one where he had a 22% cap rate, or his second property where he made a 15% cap rate. Again, this is what happens. You don't watch your money. You got to be careful with your money. But again, it's. I mean, you could say he's making up for it with his YouTube income, because that's the only way you can invest so poorly is to have such great income. Is my point. So let's keep watching. 5 is terrible to me. But you can see the richer he gets, he lowers his standards for having a profit. He lowers his standards a lot for having a profit. Let's go ahead and just take it to what it's worth today. Would I pay this much for it? I paid for $1,250,000 to get $2,100. The bottom line is, let's just do the math. Here's his rent still, 25. Matt, we'll do the math on your calculation. Matt wants to run the numbers on his. We'll do that in a minute. Looks good though. Let's do the $1,250,000. 25,200 divided by 125,000. Now he's getting a 2% return. This is a terrible return on what it's worth today. And even when he bought it, $840,000, a 3% return, I would have never bought that. And this is what Mr. Wonderful was talking about. He's gaining a lot of debt. He's getting a lot of debt for not much income. And you can say you have $600,000 equity, but maybe you don't. Especially in a downturn. If you go in a downturn, then you really don't. So to me, this would be a much better asset. So yeah, Mr. Wonderful had commented to him that I see you just getting a lot of debt. And, he wasn't even really putting a calculator to it other than his mind. And like I say, it's just on the surface, it's quite obvious how terrible the investment is. But again, the point he was making is you can keep accumulating debt like this. And he asked him at the end, he says, can you take a $3 million hit? And he does, because he's got about $4 million saved. But again, it's terrible, because when you get such a terrible return on your property, it's like, it's like you're buying a bad job. So we'll keep watching. That too, if you can really sell it for $1,250,000, dump it. Your returns are terrible. Let's go to the next one. Property 5, let's see. Cost is $585. Renovation $220. Okay, so he's actually got some money in this thing. So $220 plus $585, $805,000. $805,000 on his purchase. His rent $5,500. Now he's not saying net income. He's just saying rent. He's not saying net income. Let's just take 1%. That'd be $1,000 a month. So let's just say $4,500. So this is probably really $4,500, because it just says rent. It's not accounting for taxes and maintenance and insurance, which is going to be more than 1%, but just to be conservative to a degree, not be too harsh on it. So we'll say 4,500 times 12. So now he's got 54,000. I'm actually changing this to 4,500 because he says this is his rent. He didn't say it was his net income. And there's definitely $1,000 a month coming off this thing in taxes. So let's do the math. 54,000 divided by 805. With this deal that he got, look at the rent. He's getting this one. He's really, as expensive a property this is, he's really getting some decent rent, right? So this one jumps up to say 6.7%, right? But that's because he's got the rent. He's got the rents right. The rent's better. If we mark it to value of what today's value is, let's go ahead and do that exercise real quick. $1,250,000 in 54,000 divided by $1,250,000. Properties under $300,000 tend to bring in a lot higher cap rate than properties that are, say, over $300,000, especially when you get up to $1 million. So unless you're going to do an Airbnb, but that's a job. So when you take it to what it's worth today, it's 4.3. Okay, 6.7% is the value based on what he paid for it. Again, it's just a really important exercise. You got to pay attention to the numbers. And just so you know, I have an app called FlipAnything. You can get it for free. It's not on Android at this moment, but it's available free on iPhone. It has calculators in here that'll help you. It can make it easy to calculate quickly. But I urge you to get an amortization schedule and play with it, because the numbers can make a tremendous amount of difference. Okay, so we got some chat. Folks have asking some things here too at the same time as this. So look, yeah, this is a terrible return, but loan renovation. See, now look at this. He's put $220. Keep in mind, he put $220 in plus the $585. So he's got $805,000 in this, so there's two things. This is in 17, and now today is 2020. So in 3 years, assuming his numbers are correct, then he could get he could get 1250 or 1.2. So like I said, there's 400,000 less commissions and stuff. But one of the things he did not put in here, and I took it off, was he didn't say net income. He just said rent. And at the same time here, Henry, is it Henry? No, sorry. Matt's asking me right now. He said he said he has a property he paid, whatever. He said he's got a property worth $200,000 that's bringing in $1,400 a month. Now you didn't say if that was your net, but if that's your net income, then you're making 8.4%. So that's okay. That's a decent return. I mean, I can tell you what, it's more than double what Kevin's, or not what Kevin, what Graham is realizing. Now again, at the same time, Harris said, doesn't real estate appreciation change the math a little? Yes, it does. He said, you are calculating cash flow. Yeah, we're only calculating cash flow right now, which when you're a beginning investor, I mean, you can't just buy stuff that has a negative, obviously. I mean, I started with nothing. So, right, every deal I made had to make money. And it was like I say, I describe it like a big cart with each money that I made, I made more and more. And that's what I teach in my book, Wake Up and Smell the Real Estate, how I built my wealth. I made $1 million by the time I was 28, and that's almost 40 years ago. So from 19 to 28, I made $1 million, which would probably be like making $3 million now. That is gross. Oh, yeah, so your net, man, how are you netting so little? How can you? Oh no, you're calculating your mortgage. Okay, now here's the other thing. Okay, so this is another good point. Matt, so Matt's coming back and saying, let's just play with Matt's numbers here just for a second. Matt, you're going to have to stay active with me here real quick if we're going to make this work. You're saying you've got a 600 net, okay? So let me erase all this. Okay. So Matt, you've got something worth $200,000, according to you. Okay, and you tell me I need to know what your net rent is. Okay. Now, one of the things you got to calculate, you know what your mortgage is, because here's part of the calculation. You want to know what your income is, correct? Well, if you've got a mortgage, let's just say he's got a mortgage of, I don't know. You have to tell me your mortgage. Let's just say you got a mortgage of $700, okay? But half of it is interest, okay? And the other half is principal, okay? Well, that means you're still making $350 a month. Oops, sorry, back into the big numbers. You're making $350 a month in principal. It's going to the bank to pay back the loan. So you are getting the benefit of this. Okay, so when you say your net, you can add this back to your net income. Okay, you can add this back to your net income. So, you follow me, and then you'll be able to better understand what you're netting on that, because you're asking me whether it's a good deal or not. So add back, go look at your amortization schedule and factor in, what portion of your mortgage, because you're saying that you went from $1,400, now you're saying you got that there was a gross $1,400 and that you got a net $600. Does that $600 include the principal? Okay, how much of your mortgage is $750? I was actually pretty close. How much of your mortgage is principal and how much more of it is interest? And we'll come back to that. All right, so let's look at the rest of this. Coming near the end. And it's really just a good thing to study and play with. So let's go to the next investment. Okay, so here's property number 6. He paid $815. It's the last one thing. He said rent, and he's not figuring any taxes or maintenance. So this is really probably $3,900. Right, $3,900. That would be net rent, just okay. I'm trying to get to a fair net figure. So based on this, we got $3,900 times 12 months. So he's got $46,800, and that's based on an $815,000 purchase. 15. And now this is a 5.7. When he bought it, he was getting 5.7%. Again, not something I'd buy, but it's certainly much better. But it doesn't compare to the 22% that he made on the first deal, and whatever the other one was, the following one. Yeah, actually, this last one I think is actually his best purchase. Yeah, this is the best purchase he made, basically on return-wise anyways. After that was actually not too bad. He thinks 15%. Now you go by the value today, right? The 965. So we come in here, 965. Go to the calculator, and 46,800 divided by 965. So now he drops to 4.8%. Becomes worth more, but his cash flow goes down. That's the bottom line. Because his taxes are going up too, don't forget. This is the problem with investing in residential property, to be quite honest. You can time it right, you can buy it, and you can get big gains in the value and the appreciation. But sometimes it'll go flat for a long time. Sometimes it'll drop quite a bit. Mr. O'Leary was getting at. You got to be prepared to deal with that sort of thing. This is one of the reasons that the beauty of commercial, office, and industrial, those kinds of properties is that they're based on the income that they produce. They don't have the wild fluctuations. In fact, we'll go back to the gallery with this one. All right, so now look, let's take a look at the properties again. Let's start putting some of the numbers that we just went through. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through his whole portfolio to get an average return. And I'm going to give you a great example. Hang in here because we'll go through this real quick because I got a perfect deal. I've got a property right now that I'm selling for I paid $240,000 for this property, and I'm selling it for like $1.8 million, okay, 1.8 or 1.5. We'll see. But anyhow, we'll use the 1.5 for now. But let's just watch this real quick. This is pretty interesting. I think you guys are going to be interested in this. On property 1, and I'm doing this based on today's value right here. Just talking about the real estate portfolio now. Property 1, we have 4.7. That's the cap rate. 2 is 3.8. 3 is 4.5. 4 is a 2.0. And number 5 is 4.3. And number 6 is a 4.8. That is the cap rate on today's values of his portfolio. So you can see he's at a low of 2 and at a high of 4.8. I can do the average on this too, I suppose. But yeah, let's take a look at that. All right, so I made a chart here of the properties we just reviewed and the cap rates of each as I'd calculated them before. So you can see I've got each listed. So let's go ahead and add this stuff up. 280,000 plus 280 plus 280. Already did it. Plus let's see, another 400,000. I will raise the audio. There you go. Plus 1,250,000 plus 1,250,000 plus 965,000. Okay, so we got a total here, 4,425,000. It's a nice number. So he's got 425,000. Okay, so now let's go ahead and get the overall cap rate. And let's go ahead and get the overall cap rate on his whole portfolio. So we know his portfolio is worth 4,425,000. Okay, so look, I put a chart together here now. His individual cap rates of each property there listed, written on there, based on the figures that we went through earlier. 4,425,000. That's the total value of his overall assets. Go ahead and add those, add the income up. 13,200 plus 10,800 plus 18,000 plus 25,200 plus 54,000 plus 46,800 plus. So we got 168,000 overall. That represents his rents. Total income, net income that is. The total value of the real estate portfolio is 4,425,000. We've got 168,000 over the 4,425,000. And let's go ahead and do the math on that. 168,000, and we'll divide that by the 4,425,000. 168,000 divided by 4,425,000. So look, overall he's got a 3.8% return. He's got a 3.8 cap rate. So if he had everything paid for, he'd get 3.8%. That is not a very good return at all. In fact, the industry average, I would say, is roughly 7.25, 7, on what an average investor would expect. So I got to give Graham pretty much a D on this thing as well. He's getting about half the return he should on his overall portfolio, what it's worth. He still made some money. His earliest investments were obviously his best. He'd be better off to just go back and repeat history. Remember, he had 22% on that first one. He had 15% on the other one, but he held the one long enough. This one here originally was 22%. And now it's 4.7% cap rate. This one was 15% at one time. Now it's 3.8. So everything keeps going down when you market to value. That's the problem with residential real estate. Also, he could be doing a better job. He doesn't raise his rents. If he raised his rents, he'd raise this number as well. But anyways, that's kind of interesting. But yeah, 3.8% return on your real estate profile is not particularly good at all. What is good though is that he did make some good buys early on that made some money. You're a great YouTuber. You make a lot of money, and you can support this kind of investing. And I don't mean to say that in a negative way. It's hard for it not to sound negative because it's not a very good investment. Yeah. So anyways, you know what? I appreciate Graham making this video because it made me the opportunity to make the video that I just made. And to give you an idea how bad this is, okay, 3.8, okay, look, like I referenced, these actually numbers kind of look familiar to me in a way that I paid $2.1 million and I netted more than $168,000 on that $2.1 million. That was a 7.5% return. So in other words, and that was one that I had a 30% vacancy, so I got to increase the rents almost half again, on top of that. So again, again, he's in a different world. He's, he wakes up each morning and he makes the videos and he makes a lot of money, and it's a different world. You can see up here, the stock markets, which is I still consider liquid. He can cash out of those. I think that's $2.5 million or something like that. And then he's got almost as much cash. He's got about $4 million cash just sitting there, anyways. So it's a different world. It's just like I say. And you know what? Graham doesn't pretend to be a great real estate investor. He doesn't. I mean, he started to in the beginning, and to be honest, when he started, he wasn't a bad real estate investor. Just going by the numbers that he provided. So, anyways. Like I said, those early investments were his best ones. And again, we're going back 8 years ago, pre-$1 million a year YouTuber. So it's just something to consider. Anyways, let's see what we got here. Oh, Matt. Okay, so Matt, let's go back to Matt. Matt's got he looked at his amortization schedule. So $367 on interest. So basically, you have 811. Let's just do the numbers for Matt real quick on his investment. So he's got, let's go back to the iPad. Okay, now this is Matt's investment. I'm going to go ahead and start over. Okay, so Matt has a property worth $200,000. Okay, and his rents are $1,400, but his net income, his net rent, net profit, and I assume, did you delete your taxes? For the sake of this, hopefully your mortgage probably includes the, if you had private mortgage insurance, if you didn't put 20% down, you get stuck with that. But I'm just going to assume that you have taken out your taxes or that you pay it in with the mortgage. Possibly. Anyways, so let's just go with the numbers. He's got $211 a month of his mortgage's actual principal. So that is his money. So we'll do the 211 plus the 600, and so we got 811 and let's see, 811. I should do that in my head, right? 12 times 8. So he's got 9,600 plus he's got another 132. Okay, so he's got 9,732 a year. Okay, that's his total rent, net. That's his net operating income, basically. Okay, and his property is worth $200,000. So we're going to divide 9,732 by 200,000. And he has almost a 5% cap. He's got 4.8. Okay, that's what you got. So you got almost 5%. Not very good. But you know what? It's one of your earliest investments. What did you pay for it, by the way? Let's talk about what you paid for it. Oh, okay. Am I right that you got it for $700? Let me see. I'm going back up to Matt's deal here. Yeah, I got the house for $125,000. See, okay, you got it for $125,000, but you made your money on the purchase because it was worth $180,000. So let's just do the same math real quick for Matt. And I don't know. Again, to be fair, we don't know what. I don't know what the number was here when you bought it, but let's just. Let's just play with it. 125,000, because that was your actual purchase. $125,000. Okay, so 9,732 divided by. Okay, so look, you got a 7, almost a you got a 7. You almost got a 7.8. 7.8. Okay. So you were operating at a 7.8% the day you bought it, and but again, see, this is the deal with houses.
Diminishing the value of his
Oh, oops. Oh God. Which, by the way, please subscribe. So basically, when you bought it, you got a 7.8% return. And this is the thing. Houses don't have the same returns that you get out of like multifamily properties and duplexes, triplexes, apartment buildings, because those are going to be based on the income that they provide. And no investor is going to pay. I've got an example with Kevin. We'll do this one maybe next Saturday, do the other one on Kevin. Meet Kevin, not Kevin O'Leary. But again, you did well because, like you say, even though you bought it for 125, it was worth 180. And I can tell you, same with, let's see, I guess you just didn't see that. But yeah, so basically, and I'll go back to the iPad just for a second. So he when he bought it for 125, he was getting a 7.8 return, but it was worth 180K. So he had about $50,000 that, he could have just flipped it and made the 80,000, which is probably what I would have done, to be honest. But either way, you can, you know what, it's a great time to sell it now. I'll tell you right now, the interest rates are so low, everybody's kind of getting a premium. So, I would consider flipping it. If you're living in it, that's maybe different. But, right now it's a real opportunity. I'm selling a lot of property right now. Even Mr. Wonderful here, Kevin O'Leary, was talking about, he got rid of all this real estate. I'm not getting rid of all my real estate, but I might turn about, 25% of it into all cash. I don't know. Usually, I'm pretty close to that in general, but all right, let's see. What else? Anybody else got anything they want to talk about? Anything we can discuss outside of this? Just let me know. I was going to actually, so check this out. The one of the properties that I'm selling, to give an example, well, I already told you about it. Basically, a property that I paid in the 200 to 240. I probably put a couple $100,000 in it over the years, but it always brought in an income. But I'm going to just guess that, it's bringing in about almost $100,000 a year right now. So, it's bringing in about 7% on the $1.5 million that it's worth right now. And I'm still selling it, but I'm going to have all that cash. And again, it's because I wouldn't necessarily buy a building for a 7% return unless there was a lot of upward potential for me. And this one's not. It's already max. That's the maximum rents I can get out of it. Unlike the center I was talking about earlier that I bought for $2 million that brought in 7.5, but that was with the 30% vacancy. So Chandler Smith, huh? Yeah, Carlos says we should review Chandler Smith. Man, there's a lot of different YouTubers out there. Let's see. Anyways, anybody got anything in particular they want to talk about? We'll talk about it. We can go look at Chandler Smith, maybe. I don't know. Sometimes I don't like. I've never watched him, so I don't know who he is. But if it's something short, actually, you know what we could do? I got an idea. Let's do this. Let me run over here to meet Kevin for a second. We'll go to this meet Kevin one. If you guys, because this is similar. We're talking about numbers. It's kind of nice that we're getting into these numbers. So you guys want to look? I did a video on Meet Kevin. He was doing his video called Should I Buy a Duplex, or Should You Buy a Duplex or a House? And he's got this noob versus pro, and guess what? We're 180 degrees out from each other. Again, he falls into that category of Stephan. He makes a lot of money. I think he makes $1 million a month sometimes now. Kevin is just an absolute YouTube beast. He's really, really good. But again, so I consider his real estate expertise minimal, but it's because he's got such a big fat wallet now that he can defy common sense when it comes to investing because of that. But if you guys want to look at that, we can take a look at that, or we can look at something else. You guys tell me. I don't care. Let's see. Ricky, LOL, did you sign up to meet Kev? I don't know what that means exactly, but let's see. Oh, no. It says, did you see the Meet Kevin video on how much he lost on Tesla? I did not. How much did he lose? Because he can afford to lose a lot because he demonstrates it all the time. Yeah, okay, so I didn't quite Adriana asks, I've seen your video and saying that you can use a lender or assignees. Yeah, I mean, sure, you can make, I mean, that's in my book. Folks, you don't have my book, get my book. For $20, even if you got ripped off for $20, you're going to find out that's a blessing in the real estate world because people get ripped off for tens of thousands. Okay, last week you was joking about signing. Oh, no. Ricky, that's not true. I actually went to sign up. For, let's just run over here real quick. I did a video on Meet Kevin, or we were discussing him, actually. This is a video I actually did on him. And this one here, in conclusion, I just totally disagree. It was a silly scenario, but this is the problem. He's not a real estate investor, in my opinion. I'm not saying he doesn't buy real estate. He just doesn't buy it very well. But again, I didn't come here to bash Kevin today. But what I was going to say is he lost $1.5 million. Jeez. Yeah. See, that's what I'm talking about. Look, he's learning. He's a young guy, makes a hell of a lot of money. But, who can be 28 years old and lose $1.5 million to stock and make a video about it and laugh or whatever he did? Again, he's doing it with real estate too, okay? He's not losing it quite so abruptly, but he is wasting money. That I can tell you. Oh, yeah, glad you enjoyed the book. Yeah, look, folks, get my book. For God's sakes, just get my book. If you haven't seen it, I don't know. I did an interview on one of my mentorship students. I'm trying. He's still in the middle of one deal, so I can't give out much details. But he's going to make a couple $100,000 on this second deal, and he's already bought a motorhome, a trailer park, just recently. This is all since getting the book and taking the mentorship. And then I got two other guys, Liam and Ron. Both of them made a couple $100,000 by their own calculations each. And also another guy just sent me a check, showed me a picture of a check for $39,000 that he said that he credits what he learned from me, that he made 25 grand with 15. He said I wouldn't have done it if I hadn't read your book and listened to you. Yeah, there you go. Okay, Matt Martinez. It was my mother-in-law's home. Oh, I got you. Yeah, so you bought it from your mother-in-law. That's cool. Let's see. At least these YouTubers make bad deals to transfer their money to other people who can use it, I guess. I don't know. I tell you what, one thing I do appreciate about Meet Kevin, and Stephan is their honesty. You know what I mean? Because, they do put it out there, It's almost like you're watching them grow up to a large degree. You're watching them, you're watching them grow up financially anyways, learning some hard lessons, $1.5 million. But, that's not such a hard lesson if you can make it back in 3 months after taxes. So anyways, but it is pretty cool that they share as much as they do. All right, let's see what else we got here. Let me go back here for a second. All right, what do you guys want to do? You guys want to look at something else? How long have we been on? I got some stuff. I got some work to do today. Got a honey-do list. Can somebody tell me how long we've been on? I can't even tell. Let's... But all right, so look, folks, there's my book. You can also go to, you know what, I'll show you guys something. It's actually supposed to change. We'll go over to my, over here, we'll go to FlipAnythingUSA. So look, over on my website, FlipAnythingUSA.com. Okay, they're actually doing a little bit of a revamp on the inside here. But there's a members area here. And the calculators ought to be available. See, also, I got calculators that you can get at, even if you're not in the club or whatever you want to call this. But you can, of course, I'm right in front of the calculator. There's a couple of payment calculators that I think you'll like. There's an interest-only calculator. I've got another one in here, but I have like a deal calculator here. And this is for when you're going to assign. You know, let's just say you got a property for let's say $250,000, and you got it for $200,000 under contract, and you want to do an assignment fee to somebody else for $10,000 or whatever you can get, right? You can just quickly calculate and show somebody, hey, look, even giving me a $10,000 assignment fee, if it's worth $250, if you agree it's worth $250, you can get it for $2,000 plus or $200,000 plus my $10,000, and you can explain to them, look, you're getting a 20% under market, even with, and so, anyways, so in this case they'd be getting a 16% undervalue. That's after paying you a piece of the action, and if you got $5,000, which I've done a lot of assignments, folks. That's why I tell you this is just for not everybody's as good at math as other people, but you can demonstrate to people, look, give me $5,000, it's worth $250. You can take my position for $200,000, and when they close it, they're closing it damn near 20% under market. So, anyways, but I have a mentorship program. You can join in. It's $6.99. Actually, anyways, it's maybe a little bit lower. I think I'm about to do the third class. The founding members, I really appreciate the founding members. They've what made it such a great class. And we've had some really cool, these are all testimonials, actually. Ron here is one of those guys that made quite a bit of money, as are some of the others in here. Liam's in here. So I haven't even added all the testimonials from people that have made money, but you can actually, if you want to go watch testimonials on people that made money, you can actually go see that. Just go to my videos and you'll see, let's see, you can actually go and see testimonials. Let's see if we can go in here. But if you want to see these guys' stories, it's pretty cool, man. I mean, I can just tell you, for me, it's really rewarding to have people that have taken my course and book and have parlayed that into making some real money. And even people that have got the book that, aren't quite ready to pull the trigger yet and do what they want to do, they still are utilizing it. They're not, they're not becoming suckers. They're just making better decisions. Some are actually utilizing what they've learned from the course and in buying things. It started out as FlipAnything, and the reason for that was so that people could, make money off of stuff too, because that's how I started. I was wheeling and dealing bicycles and motorcycles and anything of value. Oh, 54 minutes. Thanks. Good. So we hit just about an hour, folks. So I probably got to cut it here. I got things to do. I still got kids and stuff like that. So, man, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me this Saturday morning, and hope you learned something. Please go to the comments if you would, and hit subscribe. It helps my channel if you hit subscribe, but it also helps me if you go into the comments. If from here, if you don't mind, jump over to comments and just comment on the video. It's fine in the chat, but if the comments go into the video, under the video, like typically when it's not live, that helps a lot. That helps the numbers come up. Plus, for some reason, I get spammed with all these Chinese girls saying "me love you" and stuff like that, which I don't want. So if you guys can jump over and do that, that'd be great. I'd appreciate it. And I think I'm going to cut one night a week out. I like doing the Saturdays like this. This is convenient enough. And in the evenings, I'm hit or miss a little bit, but I've been trying to do Tuesday, Thursdays. Sometimes that can be difficult for me. Let's see. Yeah, thanks, Ricky. Let's see. Any books on valuable cabinets or furniture? Yeah, that's funny. Well, you know what? Anything of value. You know what I can say? I like if somebody out there has, if you got expertise in diamonds and things like that. I mean, golly, I wish I had expertise on diamonds and things that are highly valuable that are small, because you could keep, you could keep $10 million in a safe deposit box in diamonds and just go and wheel and deal those now, and it would just be, I don't know. I love real estate. You don't have to carry it. It's just paper, right? It's just paper showing that you own it. So that's always quite cool. So anyways, I guess we'll kill it here. Thanks for watching, everybody. And again, if you would, please go over there, like and subscribe. See my subscribe button. Yeah, it's not quite working right, but you know what to do. If you want a good book, get my book. And if you want to, you have to take the book. If you ever want to take the mentorship, please don't ask unless you've already read the book. It's just a prerequisite to see if you're cut out for it. If you enjoyed the book and you get excited and amped up, like many people do, then I would say, yeah, let's take a look. It may be good for you, the mentorship. So anyways, thanks for watching. So we'll see you guys next time.